top growth strategies. This is where if you can implement some of these strategies together, this is where you're going to start seeing multiples of your business when it comes to growth over a very short period of time. What I've seen in the past is that people, if you can do this over a few short years, you will see doubles, triples, quadruples in your business, sometimes more. I've even seen people see a double or triple in the first 12 months when you can follow several of these steps in combination with each other. What's interesting is that most people think the only way to make more money in the world of real estate is by selling more properties. Look, that is one strategy. I'm gonna be talking about just about every other aspect of growth strategies other than selling more properties. Number one, double your average price point. Whatever average price point you're currently selling, I would typically recommend that the deals that you're prospecting for, starting today, effective today, you start prospecting for deals that are at least 50% to 100% higher price points. So what that means is, on average, if you're closing deals right now, and I've seen this time and time and time again, people are doing, let's just say, smaller multifamily deals, okay? Very common. I see people doing 5, maybe 10 units, 8 units, right? I would typically recommend you start prospecting deals that are between 15 to 30 units at a bare minimum. Because what's gonna happen here is that when you start doing larger and larger deals, again, it makes it easier to make more money. And this sounds very simplistic, but most people just continue to prospect what they're comfortable with. This is not just about prospecting what you're comfortable with. This is prospecting what makes you money, people, right? I mean, if you could choose anything, why would you do something that makes you a little bit amount of money when you could be prospecting things that make you a lot of money? And again, I'm not telling you to prospect by any means $500 million deals. That's not what I prospect either. Our bread and butter is $1 million to $20 million. At the very beginning of my career, I was doing deals, a lot of smaller multifamilies where I would have a lot of production, doing deals between 500 and $1.5 million, right? Like that was just where I sold all my properties, and it was really cool. And then all of a sudden I did a deal for $2.5 million, and I made over $100,000 for the first time in one check. And I was like, the last deal I just did was $550K, and I made 3%, and that was like $16,000, right? I'm like, why on planet Earth am I doing, handling all these smaller deals when I could just do a few more of these larger deals and I would make infinitely more money? I mean, that's just simply the point. Prospect where the money is. And remember, you do it in waves, okay? You do it gradually. What's gonna happen is if right now you're selling deals between, let's just say 500,000 and $1.5 million or even $2 million, like that's your average price point or whatever your average price point is, okay? What I want you to do is one day a week, I want you to prospect whales, okay? It's like gonna be like, every Friday, every Thursday, every Tuesday, whatever it is, you're gonna do whale hunting, okay? Which means you're gonna start selling and trying to pitch and find deals, great deals in the larger price point. So what you're gonna do is one day a week, it's gonna start off with, okay? Until you close one of those deals, then it's gonna be 2 days a week. And then all of a sudden you're gonna close another deal, it's gonna be 3 days a week versus 2, okay? So you're gonna gradually, you're not gonna cold turkey the smaller stuff, because obviously if it's paying your bills, you don't just stop. But first off, first thing you're gonna do is start prospecting larger and larger price points. Number 2, start doing a lot more deals off market. Stop listing as many properties as you are. If you are listing any properties at all, start doing a lot more off market properties, okay? Which means you gotta focus on building both sides of the coin. You gotta have a lot of seller leads and you gotta have some buyer leads. The reason why I recommend doing this is because when you can double end 80% or more of the deals you're doing, all of a sudden, when you were doing, let's just say, think about how crazy this is. You do $1 million deal, you get them to sign for 5%. You keep 3% and you give out 2 to a broker, okay? And you do a co-brokering fee. You make $30,000 when that deal sells. Versus, let's say, let's follow the strategy so far, right? If you just take that same $1 million deal and now you're making $50K per deal, okay, that's the same price point. Or if we're following the strategy from one above, right, now you're prospecting $2 million deals and you get 5% commission because you're double ending both sides. Now you're making $100,000 on average. From 3%, 30 grand, to 5% at 2 million, now it's 100 grand. And you're not doing that much drastically different work. But what a lot of people try to do is they try to make very mediocre deals work, and that's when you end up making 1%, 2%, 3% commissions. What we try to do is we try to focus where 80% of our business is on the very good deals, and then 20% of our business is on decent deals, average deals, right? Where we might make maybe 2, 3, 4-ish% on the average deals, but on the really good deals, our average commission percentages is 5+%, 6+%, because we're doing also a lot of wholesale deals. So it allows you to make a lot more money with the same amount of production. Next is expand your geographic locations. What a lot of people do, I see a huge mistake, is they go, oh, well, I'm the top agent in my county. Okay, that's great. I mean, your county only sells maybe 200 properties a year and you do 16 of those. I mean, congratulations, okay? Like whatever, that's great in your county. But I'm saying, look, I want to be the #1 agent in the country. That's my vision. So I'm telling you right now, hey, your county might be treating you really well. I'm telling you, now let's expand maybe 2 or 3 other counties, okay? Because now you're gonna have a lot more volume for you to be working in. Because what happens is if there's not a lot of volume in your one county, or like hypothetically there's only maybe 500 sales a year in your one county, in your one asset class, which by the way is very, very, very rare to see. Most of the time it's like 200 in your county. In 200 sales in your county, 10% of the market share, which is an insane amount, right? Is only 10% is 20 deals a year. And most people are not 10% market shares. And most of the time people have 3% market share, 2% market share, 2% market share of 200 transactions is only 4 deals a year. But all of a sudden when you start growing the geographic location, and now the amount of deals has expanded to now maybe 1,000, and you do 2% of the market share in those 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 counties, all of a sudden now you're doing 20 deals a year, plus the average price point's doubled, plus you're doing a lot more off-market product, right? Now all of a sudden now you're making 4, 5, 6 times the amount of money, because now you're doing the same amount of market share that you have here, but it's just over a larger geographic location. The next strategy when it comes to expanding your business exponentially is going to be expanding your asset class distinctions, okay? So it means if you're selling properties that are only multifamily, maybe you should start doing a little bit more development, or maybe start doing a little bit more of industrial, or a little bit of retail, whatever else can add on, right? I'm not saying stop doing what you're doing. This is ands, right? This is an addition. You add it into the business. You don't want to be maybe just so confined, because a lot of brokers who were really focused on office 6 years ago, kudos to you. You maybe did really, really well until 2020 smacked you in the face. And everyone is like, oh, well, that's not going to happen in my industry. This asset class is recession proof, this proof. Guys, self-storage was said to be the same thing. Self-storage rates are starting to come down. Apartments, the darling of every single state in the world, right? Every single syndicator was like, oh, we were going to do multifamily. Guess what? Rents are now running flat a little bit, right? Depending on the area, some of them are even coming down. Every asset class goes through the ups and downs, which is why I like to be a little bit more diverse. Our main 3 asset classes that we work on, for the most part, right, 80% of our business is broken down between multifamily, industrial, retail. And then the remaining 20%, we do some gas stations, some car washes, some laundromats. We do, on occasion, we'll do hotel deals, motel deals, right? The other 20% will be a combination of just good opportunities that we find that we need to sell. But we don't just say we don't do those. We figure it out, right? We make it work. And this way, again, now we're capturing pieces of market share. Because all of a sudden now when you go from one county doing 2% market share to several counties to doing 2% market share to all of a sudden now doing the entire state, and instead of 2% market share, now it's 6% market share because you do all these different assets. 6% on 3,000 transactions is a ton of business, right? It's just insane. The last piece of this is going to be recruitment. Building a team of junior agents, hiring agents to be on your team. I have over 30 agents now on my team nationally, right, in several different states. And my intention with these individuals is to build them up where they're starting to grow and build their businesses, where they each can make $100, $200, $300, $500, $800, $1 million plus a year. And I help them grow, and then I help them build their businesses as well, right? And build on junior agents to them, because then they can grow into senior agents, and now they can bring on agents as well. I have a vision of having 2,000 to 5,000, right? 2,000 to 5,000 advisors across the country one day. I'm excited about that, and I know over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, I'm going to achieve that goal, and I'm looking for amazing talent to do that with, right? Where we teach these strategies, hold these people highly accountable to create massive levels of results every year. This is exactly what, some of you, where if you're already making 200, 300, 500 grand or more per year, you might want to start looking into hiring junior agents. Now, the biggest misconception people think about junior agents is that you are here making 500 grand a year, okay, or whatever you're making several hundred grand a year, $1 million a year, and then you bring on a junior agent. They should be addition. It doesn't mean you stop and then you work on this person to try to get them up, because so many people become managers. Managers make 50 grand a year, 100 grand a year. Okay, if you're making 500, it's because you're a top producer, top salespeople. Top salespeople make several hundred grand a year, several 7 figures a year. Team leaders can get to $5 or $10 or $20 million a year. But that takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of agents. You don't stop doing what you're doing. As a matter of fact, you continue to grow this. And this person, you support them, and you go, look, you could shadow me, and you're going to work on the other side of the desk, but we work together. Okay, and then eventually this person's going to grow with you, and you're going to grow too, right? You're going to gradually grow together, right? And this person should all of a sudden start growing with you and start to do more business with you. You don't stop.